There you are. Okay. She came from LA. Let's go.
After high school, I deferred my acceptance to NYU so I could travel around and figure out what I wanted to do. After a year of traveling around the country, I decided I did not want New York. I wanted nature. I was done with city. I had this fantasy of getting a cabin and a dog. So I decided to move to Colorado and attend UC Boulder. It was the beginning of the summer, and I had to be in Boulder for the new student orientation. So I was still traveling around, and I get this overnight Greyhound bus for Boulder. And I'm like, the stop is very, very late at night, and I accidentally fall asleep and miss my bus stop. So when I wake up, I'm just panicking, and I'm already like 15 miles away from Boulder. And so I yell up to the bus driver to please stop at the next stop, and he does, and in my panic, I just get out. Which was a mistake because it was not a town. It was just a bus stop in the middle of nowhere, and it's like not even dawn yet, and I am alone, and there's no cell phones. This is the late 1900s. And I can't even find a payphone. I only see the sign on the bus stop that says there are no other buses coming until later that day, and I have to get to campus. So I start walking. And I'd been traveling this whole time, so I have this 50-pound backpack, and I am just walking down this dark, empty road, hating life, just feeling like such an idiot for sleeping through my stop and getting off in the middle of nowhere in a panic. And I am out of water and I'm just exhausted. And after a few miles, I do something that terrifies me. I stick my thumb out to hitchhike. And a little while later, this car stops. It's a VW bus just full of hippies. Luckily not a cult, but lots of weed and tie-dye curtain instead of a door. And they take me to Boulder, and I get off, and it's still super early, nothing's open yet, and I find this lawn in front of the city hall, and I just sit down and take a nap, leaning up against my bag. And when I wake up, I'm walking towards the shuttle to get to campus, and this guy is playing a very out-of-tune guitar, and he stops me and says, "Do you want to hear a song?" And I really don't. But I say, okay, I think I'm still a little high from the bus, and he's playing this horrible song, and I'm wondering what the hell I'm doing, and I look up, and I see these two guys walk out of a bookstore, and the tall one just locks eyes with me, and it is the weirdest thing ever. It's like he knows me, and he walks directly towards me, his friend following, and the whole time the guy's playing the music, we're just staring at each other, and I'm just mesmerized. He has these deep brown eyes and dark hair sticking out from this black rim hat, and he's the most beautiful man I've ever seen in my life. And when the guy finishes playing, he asks if we want to get high, all three of us. And when they say yes, I say yes too. I'm 19. It's a different time, less complicated. And so we go with this guy, and shortly after, he disappears, and I'm just hanging out with these two men, and I find out that the tall guy is a Native Alaskan poet, and they're on a road trip, and he's there to find the poetry school that Ginsberg started, and they invite me to go, and I do, and we make plans to hang out after my orientation, and a few days later, I get a ride with them back to California, where my father has been babysitting my car and all my stuff. And on the way there, we just fall completely in love. And when we get there, I pick up my car, and instead of driving back to Colorado, I drive him home to northern Alaska. And when I get there, we get to his cabin, and it's exactly like my fantasy in the middle of the woods, and it's just so beautiful and a lot more nature even than Colorado. And I just move in with him straight away. First ever live-in boyfriend. And eventually we get a couple dogs, and then we have a baby. And that baby is now 22 years old. And thank you. And very tall, just like their dad, 6'3", tall and beautiful. And I can't imagine what my life would be like if I hadn't accidentally fallen asleep and missed my bus stop that day. Thank you.
That's Kona from LA.